Welcome to State of Art on the Voices of Pueblo podcast, brought to you by the Pueblo Star Journal in Pueblo, Colorado, and the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority. I'm Bree Pappan, and today's program is about the truth, seeking it, revealing it, and conveying it through multiple artistic mediums. I'm joined in the studio today by artist and gallery owner Jeff Madeen, and direct from California, the ringleader of the Third Eye Carnival, Steve Poikonen. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Tomorrow opens the 4th annual Truth Show with a weekend-long itinerary of music, art, and of course podcasts. This is the third collaboration with the Third Eye Carnival. So can you share with our listeners, Steve, how the idea came about and what is Third Eye Carnival about?
Absolutely. And thank you for having us on. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, great pleasure. And thank you for coming all the way here from California. And we're excited to see what this weekend's about.
Heck yeah. So my friend and Wednesday co-host on my morning show, a gentleman named T. Snyder, who's a documentary filmmaker who will be here this weekend. I saw him this morning. He and I were talking about trying to get people, this is, 3 years ago, really 4 years ago, we started having these conversations. So we were coming out of an era where a lot of people were isolated, not hanging out in three-dimensional space, engaged in a lot of like fear-based mindset. And so, we're at the time we're trying to figure out how to get people out of this and back into one space. And he does a wonderful series called Conspiracy Synergy, where they're very specifically tailor-made videos that help people gain a broader picture of and more clear picture of how the world we live in operates. And so we wanted people to just, invite some friends over, have a watch party, and we offered to drop in on Zoom or something like that, answer some questions. It became obvious very, very shortly into this experiment that nobody was going to do that. And then if we didn't do something on our own and lead by example and demonstrate what, could be, then nobody was going to lift a finger to do it. So, that's where Jeff came in. There's a mutual friend of ours who does artwork for my show, named Angela, and Angela Anderson, and she lives here, knows Jeff very well. And so that's how, when we were like, okay, well, I guess we have to throw some kind of event in order to drag people out of their houses, get them together and hang out. And so I really don't like conferences. I am anti, and I'm not saying you can't have fun there and you can't learn things or they're not good ways to network or collaborate. I just don't personally enjoy that, but I can throw a party. So, in the kind of formulation of it, what we really wanted to do was have, at least one form of art that was being showcased that dealt in the kind of topics that we discuss and share similar opinions about the state and the state of things. And so we initially had a couple of our friends who also do podcasts come out and do that. There was some live music, and it just gave people an opportunity to break the ice a little bit. Last year we expanded it a little bit, had more bands, some actual carnival games. And there's more this year. We could talk about those in a minute. Maybe, I don't know. I want to hand the mic to Jeff soon though. But, and the purpose or the point, I guess, is that these are designed to be replicated, not scaled, because we want these to ultimately be hyper-local festivals. Mm-hmm. And the first couple of years, a lot of people traveled out because of the podcaster, the presence that was there. Mm-hmm. This year, it does seem like we're going to have a larger, local turnout, and that's absolutely what I want out of this thing, because we really need people hanging out together and formulating solutions that don't, accelerated speed walk us into a technocratic dystopia. But I'll hand the mic over to Jeff on this one.
Okay.
Last year we had how many people from other states? I mean, I want to say 40. Yeah, 40 to 50. It was
That's
amazing.
a lot.
People came
That's
from
a lot.
Florida, Georgia, California,
Yeah.
Canada, Arizona, all over. As we were loading to leave, this person, we stayed in his Airbnb in Tucson when we closed the gallery in January. He just pulled up Ishuan, and he's got a very interesting piece. He's Swiss. Anyway, I just said, hello, we'll be back. Anyway.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah, lots of music. We had music last year. It was pretty successful, and I think we're going to have more bands this year, and it's mainly a music and podcast thing as opposed to comedy, because Steve was just involved in a Third Eye in Nashville about a month and a half ago. And
yeah, I want to ask you about that.
It was mostly comedians. Okay. So I'll turn it back over to Steve if we want to continue in that vein.
Excellent. Jeff, I actually wanted to have you kind of expound for our listeners how the Truth Show came to be. I mean, in the summarized version.
Okay. The first year, I just had this concept, and I just wanted people to make art about truth, and it's very personal. It's very subjective.
Yes.
It was really successful. And Jordan Henderson, who won Best of Show last year, he came with his father from Idaho, and had his father had 2 paintings. He had 3 paintings. They were just nailed the COVID thing, and outstanding. And so I just, being free to let people do what they want. I don't direct them in any way, and I'm usually very happy with the results of what they come up with.
Awesome. I wanted to, you and I have talked about this before, but the melding of music and art, I feel like it's gone hand in hand for, I'd say, definitely 20th century contemporary art. But, and you had a really good response to this, but in terms of how art and music collide to create this atmosphere of maybe openness to new things.
I'd say it gets people to drop their defenses.
Right.
Yeah. And then they can just specifically talk about the music. That's a way to enter into the discussion, and then they can see the art on the walls, and hopefully there'll be more discussion going forward about that. And then because of Angela and Teese getting us together, I said, "What the hell? Let's do it."
Awesome. Steve, as a podcaster, total transparency in broadcasting is really important. And how has the Third Eye Carnival been able to elevate how artists of all mediums are bringing these messages to the masses through traditional means, by giving them this visibility through your podcast and other means?
Well, hopefully it, introduces, it's a cross-promotional special hug that we're trying to give each other. And we would like people that listen to the shows that we do to listen to the bands that we're platforming here and that are performing here, and thereby expanding their audience, and getting word of mouth, and at least, sharing things out if social media. But it's that sort of, the nexus of different mediums of art where people who may not be familiar with either can walk in off the street and just be totally immersed in it. And I think that that's something that you get less and less now than you did certainly 25 years ago. Like, it seemed like there was more cohabitation going on. And so in order to, introduce, I guess, a new era of people to that concept, we're trying to do it as much as we can wherever we can, and in the hopes that it does sort of populate itself all over the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
The name of your show is AM Wake Up podcast, And you mentioned that there's going to be a total of 4 podcasters here this year. Can you talk a little bit about the other podcasters?
Yeah, and we may have a few in the audience too that we'll drag up on stage as well. Because there are quite a few that come to these. So Charlie Robinson is the host of the Macroaggressions podcast. He's a best-selling author. And he also MCs the event down in Mexico called Anarchapulco, which is a gathering of, wild and wily anarchists from near and far that Jeff Berwick, the Dollar Vigilante, throws. And I've known Charlie for 6 or 7 years at this point. And he's always been very supportive of the stuff that I've done. I took him to his first protest. Made him speak at his first protest. And we did a lovely event at the Denver Press Club with Julian Assange's father and half-brother. Okay. So when Teese and I came up with this, Teese will also be here, and I'll get to him next. Charlie immediately said, "Oh, I'm on board," and he's been to every Third Eye Carnival that we've done, including the one in Tennessee. With more of the comedy focus. We did have music, but it was more about the comics, that one. And Charlie's just an incredible human being, a wealth of information, and really just one of the kindest people that I've met doing all of this over the last 7 or 8 years. And then Teese, like I said, he co-hosts the show with me on Wednesday mornings. He also is a documentary filmmaker. He's made several over the years and is currently doing like a mini documentary series about independent media. So he lives in Canada. He did one on a couple of Canadian podcasters called Grimerica, Darren and Graham. He did one on a gentleman named Pervoye Morick, who has a show called Geopolitics and Empire. He did one on a friend of mine named Derek Brose, who hosts The Conscious Resistance and also throws an event called the People's Reset every year, which is it's part conference, part concert, and very cool on a sustainable property that they're building out in Mexico. And then he did one in Tennessee, and he's finishing that up because he's doing one on Charlie as well. So, this was an opportunity for everybody to be in the same place at the same time again, which is rare because he lives in Canada. Mm-hmm. Charlie lives here. I live in California. So it really is only the Third Eye Carnivals now where we're all hanging out together, which is kind of cool and always something to look forward to at this point. And then Corey Hughes is an author himself. He has a show called Bloody History that he does, I believe, through Substack now. But Corey's published a couple of books. He is a forensic historian as far as that goes. Like, he really gets into the bones when you're dealing with particular events throughout history. And so he's always really, really fun to talk to. It's a fantastic little time. And this is weird, but I also do UFC commentary with Corey. So you've got a guy who is, by and large, in the books and in the dust all day, every day. And then like once a month, we'll hang out and talk fights. It's just like an outlet from everything else that we do.
That's fantastic. Of course, I'm going to be attending tomorrow. And I look forward to meeting these people because they sound like amazing individuals, not only highly intellectual, but just interested in a lot of different things, but interested also in bringing those things to market in terms of educating people, in terms of transparency of things. Jeff, I wanted to ask you, you're in the process of installing, or it's installed right now, the show. What do you think there's some highlights of for this show? Do you want to like, I'm not saying like call out anybody individually, but in terms of like, if there's a flow to this year's show.
So Shannon and I spent all day yesterday hanging it and really didn't have a whole lot of time to digest what we were doing. I cruised through this morning. I like the way it's hung. Jordan, I will talk about Jordan Henderson. I want him to be on your show, Steve. He's a really good talker. He's an awesome artist. But he won Best of Show last year, and he brought back a piece this year, and it will be a silent auction.
Fantastic.
The least amount of money would be $100. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So could potentially go for $100. I hope not, but it's an awesome piece. So he brought in 3 pieces this year.
Fantastic.
Let's see, Vince. No, from last year. He did those portraits in that long, narrow gallery. Vincent Fink, yes. Yeah. He won the second Third Eye Best of Show.
Wow.
He sent a piece. He's not going to be here. He lives in Houston.
Okay.
But, there's some people, questioning. That's what it's all about.
Awesome. And so for a visitor, somebody coming to Blo Back for the first time, entering this show, what are the types of things that you want, that you hope that they leave with?
Gee, I'm going to have to research that. What's that all about?
Okay. Yeah. Just, raising their eyebrow, really kind of making them think more about what they're seeing and what they see in the world, and question what they're seeing in the world, and maybe, having them look into, some of the podcasts and some of the individuals that are making this art, and having conversations with these people, and really helping them digest more of what they need to know in terms of how the things that they are interpreting what they're seeing.
They need to be curious.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a quick break, and I want to come back and talk about specifics about some of the bands, some of the artists, and some of the events of the weekend. Let's take a quick break. I want to thank you both for being here. First of all, I appreciate it. And let's have a message from the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority. Local news should be free, and with the Pueblo Star Journal, it is. No paywalls, no barriers, just community-powered journalism. But free doesn't mean free to produce. Your support helps us launch new features like obituaries, classifieds, a mobile app, and video news from Pueblo neighborhoods. Help us keep Pueblo informed. Go to www.pueblostarjournal.org to learn how you can support local news today. And we're back. Thank you so much for joining me again, Pueblo, and to Jeff Madeen and Steve Poikonen for being in the studio with us today. Jeff, can you talk about some of the artists, both new and returning? You already have done that a bit. That will be featured in this year's Truth Show, as well as some of the artists and bands.
Sarah Ballard, of course. She's got 3 wonderful pieces. Ashley Martin, Shannon Palmer has a piece. It's Istvan, who's Istvan. He's the Tucson person. He's got I don't know how he created it. I'd say it's probably Photoshop, but it's quite a large photograph. It's probably 4 feet by 36 inches.
Fantastic.
Hung on aluminum. It's an awesome piece. Regards to the bands, Spiderland, Marie Litton is from Pueblo. Mm-hmm. As soon as she got out of high school, she moved to the Springs, and then she moved to Denver, and she's been up there for quite a while, and now she's back in Pueblo because her grandmother is in a home, and so they got this house for a year, no rent, and they're just going to figure out what they're going to do with their future. But they're awesome, very original music. Assault Shakers, they play at the place a lot. I might call them the house band. And PID, Popes and Drag, they play there quite a bit. I'm having a mental block coming up with, thank you. Roller Coaster, Denver. I was going to ask you, Steve, if you got the latest from Amanda. It's a really great flyer that she sent. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Bloodbelly Blues, RV Casino, Trip Lip, Accordion Nemesis. That guy's special for sure. He's a trip. And there's 13 bands in total. That was not 13, but Graveyard People, Apocalypse Born, Tensis, and Noah Daniel. All those people have played at the gallery.
So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So is there some type of particular theme through each day, or is it kind of like a continuation of things happening each day? Is there a focus?
Schedule. Yeah, there's a schedule. And I believe the podcast starts at 2 on Saturday.
Okay.
And then shortly after that, the music starts. So it's going to be, I think it's 7 bands on Saturday and 6 bands on Sunday and 2 bands on Friday.
It's the Truth Show Weekender.
It is.
So, Steve, you mentioned earlier about being in Nashville recently. Is that right?
Yeah.
And Nashville is really kind of I think of it as a cultural center in terms of, American culture. How, being there and then being here, how would you compare the audiences in terms of the reception, in terms of how they approach coming to events such as this versus what you've seen and been a part of in Pueblo?
Man, I'm really going to have to tell you next year because it was our first year there. It was. And so it was, a lot of people who had, a lot of people that we saw last year here were out there who traveled out. There were, I don't know, 120, 150 people that came through for it because we had Sam Tripoli and Leonardo Joni and Brad Binkley telling jokes. And they bring a lot of people. And we had a surprise drop in from Kurt Metzger, who has been 30 years in stand-up comedy. And
wow,
he writes jokes for a number of different podcasts around, like Kyle Dunnigan's and comedy podcasts. He co-hosts Jimmy Dore Show. He was playing Zanies in Nashville. We were a half an hour north on a 18-acre farm in a barn with a
that's awesome.
Probably 12 by 20 American flag as the backdrop. It was beautiful. It was fantastic. It was Americana. But
there's a Kleenex. You can just kind of
single tier. But no, I mean, as far as that, we haven't achieved local audience there yet because it was our first year. It is a much different atmosphere, but we were also in Tennessee in the middle of a rainstorm season, so it was hardy folk were made that weekend. They were. But no, I will. I would love to come back next year when we do this again and then tell you what the difference is. And I wish I could at this point, but we're just now jumping into it. So we're going to have to the comparison is going to be this year with a much larger local presence as opposed to last year. And there, we can talk about, how the energies might be different or something like that. But I'm really stoked that the bands that we have here, have all demonstrated, multiple times that they can draw a local presence on their own. Right. And so if they're all in the same place at the same time, hopefully it's just a giant, pile of fellowship and fun and learning and yes, well-mannered frivolity. Right.
Right. Exactly. So, I mean, that's kind of where I wanted to go with you, Jeff, is, the evolution of the Truth Show in terms of, your first year versus this year. It's your 4th year. I know it's like not, headed to a legacy, but not really. But, how have you seen that evolve in terms of community involvement, in terms of reception, in terms of the amount of people that come out to the show?
Well, the first year there was not a heavy turnout at all. Last year, because of all the people that came from other places, the turnout was great. Not a lot of locals, as Steve said. I believe that there's going to be a lot more locals this year.
I hope so. Why do you think that is? Why do you think, because I know that just speaking speak plainly. Please.
It's Pueblo.
But yeah, okay. I understand. But, somebody that, I'm just going to, as a citizen that participates in First Fridays, I have my rounds. I make my rounds. And I always end at Blo Back. Not because it's conveniently located next to my home or near my home, but because I know when I get there, it's going to be happening. There's going to be, maybe a band will be getting ready to go on. And it's definitely like kind of the end gathering place. Everybody seems to go there. So I'm surprised when you say that in terms of, having a local turnout.
I think a lot of the people that do come to the openings or First Fridays are probably not going to come to Third Eye. I do know that, a lot of artists that show at the gallery that didn't participate in years past are going to participate this year. We also are a little more organized. We're giving a discount for locals. It's probably like $40 less than if they were from somewhere else.
For submissions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, just to go to the festival.
Oh,
we charge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're an artist, Friday night is free.
Okay.
You get to see the music, and if they want to come, it's a daily pass. I think it's $20 as a daily.
Yeah.
Or they can.
In retrospect, paying $20 for a weekend event,
no kidding.
that's
where else
huge.
Are you going to do that?
Yeah.
Well, again, it's Pueblo.
Yeah, I know.
But people are catching on, and I believe that there are people that are genuinely interested in the subject. I keep having interesting conversations with people of all walks in this town. So we're more organized also.
Yeah, that comes through, obviously, in terms of putting out a schedule, putting out different announcements, and coming on a podcast and promoting yourself and increasing your visibility and marketing. I think that's important. I mean, not only as a gallerist, a gallery owner, but as someone who, is promoting something you believe in. And I think people will see that too, in terms of, Jeff believes in this, so we need to support him as people that come to support you all the time. So, in terms of, let's talk about, like some of the subject matter that we might see in, that you want to talk about, that people might see at the Truth Show.
Politics, war.
That's enough.
Government.
That can just expand. I think that I hope that people approach coming to the Truth Show as being uninhibited, and that they would be open to hearing things. I mean, it's an opportunity for people to hear new takes on things that they have been watching, seeing, listening to, absorbing, and it's not one-sided. I think that's an opportunity to hear multiple sides and to hear multiple people from different parts of the country. I think that's very important. So what do you think would be probably, and we ask this again, what do you think you would hope that people want to come and participate, or people that want to come and, is it open for people to get on stage, or is it like kind of a something that people can be invited to do?
I would say if somebody has something to say, they could hop up there and say it. Yeah.
Okay.
About anything.
Okay.
Yeah. It's about censor-free environment. All
right. Steve, I want to ask you, one last question in terms of your podcasting at Blo Back. What type of setup will it be in terms of, will you just have like a steady podcast with your cohorts? Will you be walking around talking with people, or?
We talked about this last year, trying to do a better Q&A type thing. Okay. But it's always a challenge wrangling the feral cats away from the mic after they I love the audience. I do. Some of them are my very
There might be a
good
tendency
friends,
for people to get fired up. Is that what
yeah,
you're thinking?
no, it is amazing. You hand a monkey a microphone, and the first thing it does is learn how to circular breathe. So it's the way that we've done it is we've just set up a table, grabbed a couple of mics, and I can't speak necessarily for everybody else on the panel, but my approach to most of this, I heard Frank Zappa one time talk about his approach to playing guitar. And he said, I have a basic working knowledge of my instrument and I have an imagination. And that's what we do. And so I do 3 hours of a live show every morning like that. Like I have a basic kind of structure that, well, not structure, but a handful of like articles, clips, and things like that I want to
topics of discussion
raise.
Yeah.
But that's it. And then there's various co-hosts, and we frequently have really interesting guests come through. So it lends itself to that more safety net free, unstructured environment of conversation, and that's basically what we can expect for the panels over the weekend. Nothing off topic, but no real topic.
Okay. So again, it's July 4th, 5th, and 6th. You start at 5 p.m. on Friday night, and we have how many artists and submissions do we have this year? Yes, please talk about that.
So I last counted day before yesterday, just looking at the various work, because we kind of set it around the gallery where we thought it would be, and there were 70, and I think there are probably 75 or 76 artists now, and some artists put in 3 pieces, some artists put in 4, so I haven't done the tally, but I think there was 120 at one time. So
wow, okay, so an excellent variety.
Very much. Okay. Mediums, the message.
Okay. And are tickets available ahead of time?
Yeah, they can buy online.
Okay.
Blo Back Gallery.
Okay, so it's www.blowbackgallery.com.
Yes.
Okay. I think I want to thank you both for being here again today with me, Jeff Madeen, Steve Poikonen. And this has been Voices of Pueblo, the State of Art. And this is Bree Pappan, and I appreciate you tuning in. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.